Now, I've said this before, and I'll say it again, there are multiple reasons why I always tend to call the Acolyte series The Last Jedi 2.0. One of the biggest reasons of all is the fact that Leslye Headland is the one that looked up to Rian Johnson and took much inspiration from The Last Jedi as a movie back in 2017. I also like to call this the Acolyte because that is, at the end of the day, what it is. It is nothing more than a hack of a series that uses the Star Wars label on top of a story that is so unrecognizable to all Star Wars fans that grew up with George Lucas's work. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. So, remember these three names: Kathleen Kennedy, Leslye Headland, the director of the series, and Amandla Stenberg, the main star of the series who plays May and Osha. These are the same individuals that will protect the Acolyte series like there's no tomorrow. This is exactly why they are fully engaging in the marketing campaign, in the press tour, which, by the way, has been a colossal failure for Lucasfilm, and so far, not so good for Lucasfilm. I mean, the first two episodes have really fallen flat and really hit below rock bottom. I mean, they have hit a whole new level of low for Lucasfilm that no fan would have expected to see in 2024. I mean, they at this point have hit bedrock level. But what's interesting about this, we know that there's a lot of things going on with Leslye Headland and her way of coping with the bad reviews out there, with the negative reviews and the reactions, etc., etc. Let's get into this, shall we? Now, specifically, of course, we already know that Headland has been blaming the toxic male demographic, quote-unquote, and other aspects. Interestingly enough, though, with Leslye Headland actively involved in the marketing campaign of The Acolyte for the press tour by Lucasfilm that has been nothing but a total nightmare for Disney, one major development now involves more to do with Leslye Headland of The Acolyte in the wake of The Acolyte ratings hitting an all-time low for audience reviewers. Now, Leslye recently delivered the following: "Look, I'm a grown woman, okay, and I can understand the difference between real Star Wars fans and fans that just pretend to be because they want to keep that feeling of entitlement for the characters that they relate to. I think that's the problem with why we are dealing with such a loud minority of fans that are dropping fake reviews and reactions that truly are so out of place they don't even sound like Star Wars fans from the beginning. The only critics or reviews that I can take seriously right now, I feel, are the ones that are professional and ones that have no bias towards women, LGBTQ representation, and other communities." So basically what she's saying here is that she wants to gravitate toward trusting only the shill media that will say whatever they have to say to leave positive reviews about the series, to really just praise the show at all costs, like there is, of course, no end to Lucasfilm. They want to protect Lucasfilm and Disney. They want to keep this whole Star Wars agenda moving forward for the years to come. This is, by the way, exactly why they hired another DEI hire, director, Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, to lead the Rey Star Wars movie in 2026. I mean, she is just as bad as Leslye Headland. I mean, just strap in for your seatbelts for that year for the Rey Star Wars film, which, by the way, I still don't believe it's going to move forward. We haven't really been hearing too much about that, and after what happens with The Acolyte, don't be too shocked if they shelve that Rey Star Wars movie. But what's interesting about this moving ahead is what she continues to actually blabber about. She goes on to continue, "I had a deep talk with Kathy. We had some serious convos about where we are right now with The Acolyte, and I can say right now that everyone loves this thing. It is just as lovable as The Last Jedi by Rian Johnson, which I am so honored, by the way, to have that comparison because what Rian did was amazing and so bold. And sure, you had the same loud, entitled fans back then yelling hateful things too that really didn't mean anything. It's the same thing that we are dealing with The Acolyte right now, and I'm not surprised at all. It's 2024 after all, and you just can't take the audience reactions seriously anymore. Well, at least in Star Wars. I mean, so many fans tend to fall into a false narrative. In this case, so many fans like to say that we have an agenda for supporting diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is not an agenda at all in any way. I think what is important is that we need more characters in this franchise connected to the LGBTQ community that will rightfully move in a direction to evolve the brand to those communities. Whatever fan is claiming that we are engaging in an agenda of some kind or attack on pop culture literally have no clue what they are talking about. Star Wars has always been about making drastic changes. Look at the originals, sequels, and the prequels, and the Acolyte is something on a whole new level of innovation for this franchise that I think men are just not prepared for yet. I spoke about this with Amandla when we were filming, and I told her, this is going to be a girls' brand too. I said, and she was very happy to hear that her cast members would get that recognition that they deserve. So no, I will say I discount all the negative reactions and reviews because our series isn't even over yet. We have 6 more episodes to go, and I think the fans that are threatened of women coming to Star Wars are just learning how to handle the transition. So guys, let me just stop here again for one moment before I move on about what Leslye Headland is endlessly, saying and really just going against the fans. And it really just goes to tell you that Star Wars is irreversible at this point. Damage, is irreversible. There's no way going back from this, especially what looms for episode 3 and 4 of the Acolyte series on, by the way, June 12th and June 19th. Those are going to be historic moments in Star Wars that's going to make the damage pretty much at a point where it's at a point of no return. Disney can't recover from it. It's going to be that bad. So, again, Leslye Headland is basically going into full-on damage control. We all know that she knows that this thing is a disaster. We all know that this is worse than The Last Jedi back in 2017. That's why I think that she's also just praising The Last Jedi, trying to make it sound better than what it really is. But moving forward here, she goes on to continue. Kathy and I knew this was how it was going to be and what we were going to be dealing with, and I, along with Amandla, were very well prepared in the long run. Episode 3 and 4, I would say, and this is where she alludes to episode 3 and 4, I would say are my life's work for Star Wars. It's something I always did in my fan fiction in my earlier years, that I finally got to insert into the story, so the fans, to the LGBTQ community, you will all love episode 3 and 4, since we address you in every way possible and how the world needs fixing. Now guys, this is exactly why I keep saying episode 3 and 4 is going to fail miserably, because Leslye Headland, based on, what we know about the 3rd and 4th episode, combining that into one, we all know they are going to be epic disasters. Leslye even admitted that those episodes are going to be all about representation above storytelling, above character development, and it is basically based on her fan fiction when she was younger. That is bad. And this kind of reminds me to what Rian Johnson did in that infamous interview when he said, yeah, I think it's very good to have a movie where you can create a fan division. I don't know if you guys remember that interview. Try to go find it somewhere. It's an older one before he even made The Last Jedi, where he actually praises the idea of dividing fans. And so the fact that we have someone like Leslye looking up to him, I wouldn't be too shocked if that's her goal as well. Dividing the fan base without really saying that's her goal at all, up front and center. And I don't see them recovering after 2024. I really don't. I think that this is going to have a negative impact on their upcoming series, Skeleton Crew, for the holiday season. They're trying to figure out whether it's going to be a November or December release, but I would like to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.